All right. Information items, communications, correspondence. I have a couple of things. One might be something we want to add to the agenda. I'll get to that in a minute. I did get really good news today that we are, went out to bid, for our, last year, we budgeted to have the AC installation in the server room completed. And, we went out to bid and, we finished the project a week or two ago, and we came in $15,000 under budget, which is great news. I also received some, thank you notes from the Sexual Assault Crisis Center of Eastern Connecticut for the Town of Lyme's donation. Also from Safe Futures for the donation that the Board of Finance approved. Also to the Connecticut Audubon Society and specifically the Roger Tory Peterson Center. And then also from the Lyme Academy of Fine Arts and the Shoreline Soup Kitchens and Pantries. Those were all approved through the budget line items for fiscal year 25-26. And then I did get a request as just this morning. As many of you know, the property, Gilborough's property was sold, and there is one remaining sculpture on the property. And his family called today to see if we might be interested in having it. They would provide it to us free to keep Gil's memory alive in the town of Old Lyme. However, we might need to give them some funds. They would try to split the cost of us of installing it in the new spot. So I'm going to give you both a picture of what it is. They had thought of
Oh, I like that one.
Town Woods.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think of another place, they need to have this. We need to have answers though within 10 days. So when we get to the new business, if we want to amend the agenda, we can add that to the. Okay. Anybody else for information items, communication, or correspondence?
Everything I received, you also received. So.
I think you received the Jerry Vowell letter and the Melillo letter regarding the sewers. I received an email to my personal address regarding the Mile Creek School project and the dissatisfaction of the neighbors having to do with jackhammering and noise. I saw Ian responded with a nice email, but what concerned me a little bit was he says that they can stop an hour after sundown. And I'm sure they're not working at 8 or 9 at night, but that was troubling to me. They seem to feel that the project is a little more intrusive to their summer life than they ever expected, with windows closed and the ACs on. I'd like to thank Public Works and Ed Adante's crew for cleaning up the true trees that came down at the end of Ben Franklin and Mile Creek Road last night. They did a great job cleaning it up, and Eversource was prompt. Everyone arrived on the scene early and took care of it.
That's great.
And you received the one from Sarah regarding Haynes Park and Rogers Lake, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going to address that at a future Board of Selectmen meeting. You have anything?
Same stuff you received. Everything else CC'd on.
Okay. All right. It is time for public comment. We will begin with public comment from the audience here in the building, and then we will allow people if there's anyone online. So for everyone online, just hold up. We have one more person that has to mute. It's 860-539-9500. Please mute yourself from your phone or your device. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to offer public comment? Kevin? And please state your name and your address.
Sure. My name is Kevin McMahon. I reside at 59 Grassy Hill Road, right up on Rogers Lake. And I'm here to discuss with the Board of Selectmen.
Can you just spell your last name for Suzanne?
I already did.
Oh, you're so
I took care of that. Yeah. I'm here to discuss House Bill 5491, which I'm sure you're aware of, because Melinda presented at your last meeting, which I have in front of me, the minutes. House Bill 5491 was brought up to the House of Representatives in the state of Connecticut by Anthony Nolan out of New London. And it's for property tax exemption for disabled veterans. And it's a scaled program. I'm sure you have read the bill, you're familiar with it, so I don't need to go through those details. But in speaking with Mr. Nolan, different towns throughout the state of Connecticut have interpreted the bill in different ways, which is fine. That's the option of the towns. The town of Lyme has chosen to do the house and the land separately, which is the first time in over 35 years as a resident of this town where I've gotten two different tax bills. Because my property is now tax exempt as a disabled veteran, the town is taxing me on my property, which is now worth 3 times what I thought it was worth. And I'd be willing to sell it to any of you at that value that the town thinks it's worth. It's a half acre, which is valued at over $200,000, which is, that's beside the point. Your tax, the House bill, the amendment to the House bill, which is Public Act 25-168, reads as follows. First of all, this act was brought up in 2023 and it was effective October 1st of 2024 for the tax year of 2025 and beyond. And it is law, not by choice. Public Act number 25-168, paragraph echo states, for assessment years commencing on and after October 1st of 2025, any municipality may, by vote of its legislative body, or any municipality with a legislative body is a town meeting, by vote of the Board of Selectmen, select persons, provide that for any individual receiving the exemption under this subdivision for a dwelling described in subparagraph Alpha India of this subdivision, not more than 2 acres of the lot upon which such dwelling sits shall be exempt from taxation. Now, Melinda brought this up on July 7th in his presentations, and Melinda states, presented the updates on the new veterans exemption laws effective October 1, 2024. This exemption now includes up to 2 acres of land and surviving spouse with properties held and transferred. The board agreed to form a working group. So my questions to the board are, has a working group been established?
Yeah.
How long does it take to create a working group? I'm just curious.
Well, this doesn't take effect until next year. So we didn't rush on it right away, but Melinda will put together a working group with Melinda. If you'd like to be on it, just send me an email.
I would love to be on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I had another question.
I have a question. Are your land and your home one property?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know if one was a separate building lot and one.
No, it's 0.51 of an acre on Grassy Hill Road.
Got it.
It's an old barn that I refurbished and converted to a house.
Okay.
But for the first time in over 35 years, I'm now getting 2 separate bills, one for the land and one for the dwelling, which is beyond me. But I guess my question would also be, does it have to be a town vote, or can the Board of Select Persons determine that? How does that get determined, whether it's a vote or whether you folks determine it? What makes that decision?
The decision, according to Melinda's from last week, is that it's determined by the Board of Selectmen. I'm just trying to pull the report. It's not in the minutes, so I think it's in the transcript of when Melinda was speaking, because, hold on one second. Just want to make sure that we're talking about the exact same thing.
I'm sure we are. I've spoken to Melinda.
I know you have, and I know she's passed you back information back and forth.
Correct.
So,
Very good to deal with.
yes, she is. She's wonderful. Okay, so.
She presented on July 7th.
I know.
2 weeks
I'm here.
ago, right?
For the day. I'm just seeing if she's mentioned it, if it picked it up on the transcript.
Melinda also states that it only applies to 12 residents throughout the town.
Current, that's what we had.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's in her presentation. Yeah.
Her bill number isn't listed in the transcription, so I want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Okay.
But we'd be more than happy to consider you for a working group when we get to that. Okay,
But it is the Board of Select Persons that makes that decision versus the town meeting?
that's what it says in the bill.
It says or. The bill is written, so it says or. And I'm just curious as to how that decision gets made.
Well, we'll just, once we
It's the Public
Kevin?
Act 25-168.
get through the working group, we'll decide how it's determined.
Okay. because I'd be more than happy to be part of the working group.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Tim.
Kevin, does Melinda have your contact information and phone
Yes, ma'am.
number?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll be right on top of her desk.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for public comment in the audience? Come on up.
My name is Sebastian Pico. Piece of property of 305 Portland Ave.
Sebastian, can you spell your last name for me?
MANGIAFICO.
Yeah.
With the new sewers allegedly coming or supposedly coming or trying to be put in, with the one EDU that I have, with over the 20 years or whatever, it's roughly going to be about $40,000. And with the $40,000, that's not counting the connection fee from my house to the road. No, I'm fine standing.
Go to the side.
So with that said, I know that there's talk about going to referendum and voting to get this through. How can anyone vote on anything without all the numbers in front of them? If you don't have all the numbers, I can't vote on that. You can't. I don't know how you can make a decision with all the numbers. So that it doesn't seem like, why are we trying to rush something through compared to how could anyone make a logical determination of how to vote if you don't have the information in front of you?
So
That's my comment.
I'm going to get to that later in the meeting if you'd like to stay.
You asked if you want to put a comment in that.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want you to know that later, if you're going to stay, you'll hear about the timeline. Is there anyone else? Paula?
Hi there. Paula Melillo, Melillo, 15 and 21 Portland Avenue. I kind of follow up what somebody just said too. I'm concerned about finances as I'm a retired person living on a fixed income and trying to keep two beach properties that have been in the family for many, many years going. So the finances, as I've looked at and heard about the $4.1 million that's been paid out by WPCA and the Alliance. So I'm trying to find out if I'm going to be responsible to pay for part of that, or is the town paying for part of that $4.1 million that has already been spent the last couple of years, correct? And there are just too many inconsistencies on costs and feel like there's no transparency. The Alliance has paid out that, but I don't know much about the Alliance. I'm trying to figure that out. I know some of the people who are members of it, but I haven't seen any financial reports, and maybe you have, and are they public for us to see? That's my question. What was the money spent on? You probably know that more than I do.
The Alliance are you talking about the O-Line SSPA?
I don't know, the group of people that
As far as I don't have any of their documentation because they meet, the WPCA chairs meet. And I don't have any of that. It's not a town group. It's not under us. It's not under the town.
don't know the town at all.
No.
So how about this $4.1 million? You know anything about that? How it was spent, or?
I can't get into it in public comment. I'm assuming it's perhaps some information that you received from someone else.
Okay,
I'm more than happy to sit down with you after this meeting or at another time and go through this.
okay. I'm just saying that I don't know what my share is going to be. So many numbers are thrown out as to some low numbers are thrown out. I have two properties and, you know, I'm thinking of, you know, $60,000, $70,000, and I really don't want to leave my family in debt after I'm gone. So I'm also concerned about the wells. I heard that I have a well that's within 25 feet of the sewer pipe. And I guess I heard maybe at one of the meetings that they were not going to double sleeve the piping, that there was another method that I guess Deep was recommending. So I just want to make sure that that's a method that will be secure and safe for my well. I heard you say something about my letter, but it isn't my letter.
No, it came via
Right.
Melillo,
Angelo
correct.
and Angelo Fanza wrote a letter and they were having trouble sending it. They couldn't find the, the user.
I got it today.
You got it.
We all did.
They were having trouble sending it, so it went through me. to
Thank you.
So you have it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank
No
you.
problem. Is there anyone else in the audience?
PEAR, so
Hello?
I would just like to elucidate something that Paula said. I'm very concerned about the financial implications of the sewers on residents in the town-owned areas at Soundview. It seems that whenever a question is raised as to extended expenses that may have been unexpected, that the WPCA chair says, "Oh, don't worry, the contingency will cover it." But the contingency is only 5%. And much of it is already spoken for with some of these change orders. We know there's going to be change orders to some of the laterals. So my concern is that 5% seems very, very low for a contingency on a project of this size. And also that some of the expenses of the town are being rolled into the estimation for Soundview, but they will benefit the private beach associations as well because it's shared infrastructure. So I just want to make sure that Soundview is not going to be charged for shared infrastructure that we are not the only people using. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Mary?
It comes right on here. Mary Daly, 9 Portland Avenue. My concern is the rather ambitious new timeline that Chairman Tsunami announced at the July WPCA meeting. We know that Miami Beach bids will not be opened until August 12th, and that Old Lyme Shores has yet to set a date as to when their bid package will actually be posted. While our chairman says it doesn't make a difference if one or more of the entities drops out, I beg to differ on that. There is no way we will know by August 18th or August 19th his dates if Old Lyme Shores or even Miami Beach is in or out. There is probably no way we will know if Old Lyme Shores is in or out by September 2nd or September 9th, his dates. It does make a difference. We should not be conducting town meetings or holding a referendum based on figures that are not confirmed. And we cannot confirm anything at all until all bids are received, vetted, and signed. I doubt very, very much that will happen by September 9th, his date for the referendum. In regard to the latest figures presented April 2025, I question some of those figures. Yes, the design was $615,000, paid for by a loan by Clean Water Funds, but that loan has and will continue to accrue interest until it is paid back 2-3 years from now. That interest has to be included. The engineering and administration figures are on his sheet are what we owe Fuss and O'Neill and Woodward and Curran. They do not include anything for bookkeeping or auditing or anything that we may owe Old Colony at this point for carrying the bill for the shared infrastructure. We are still waiting for a spreadsheet from Old Colony to tell us what we owe. So until we see that, I don't see how we can determine what we need to pay per EDU. In addition, legal fees and interest, two very significant variables, especially since the current WPCA attorney now charges $800 per hour, are not eligible for clean water funds and therefore are not eligible for state reimbursements either. They must be separated out and included at full value as an expense. They cannot be justified. They cannot be included in 50% reimbursement. They are not reimbursable. Stating the cost that will be reimbursed, all costs reimbursed by 50% will only, or those costs eligible, will only be true if all the builds and all the bids, et cetera, come in less than 50 million. And even Fuss and O'Neill is saying it won't be 50, it will be more. I do ask that the selectmen direct the Old Lyme WPCA to include the contractual fees to East Lyme and New London into the EDU equation, as we have heard that the public beach associations are proceeding that way. It makes sense to do so. Payment on those contractual fees will begin on day one, yet most property owners will not hook up on day one. They may take several years, in fact, to hook up. The money to make the payments will have to come from somewhere, and if you continue to say they are maintenance versus build expenses, and let's say only 25% of the properties decide to hook up in year one, where will that money come for that payment? Will you skew it and require the 25% who do hook up to pay 100% of that bill? That's not fair. This is not usage. These bills are not, these are contractual fees to connect the pipes from East Lyme or from Old Lyme all the way to New London. They are not usage. It doesn't matter if I don't submit one, drop of sewage. I would still be responsible for that contractual fee. And I think because of that, it should be included in the EDU figures. And I understand that it makes the EDU sound better in a public forum to not include those, but those charges don't go away. They still are there and still need to be paid. They do not go away. So again, I feel they should be included in that EDU figure. They are fixed. They are not based on usage. They are contractual. As someone who spent a lot of time on this project, I believe there are significant costs that are not being displayed on this spreadsheet. And until all costs are on the table, I cannot comprehend how this Board of Selectmen can approve setting dates to take one more step towards sewers. Thank you for your time. In addition to that, I just want to say, sewers is a very expensive and hot topic for this town. We again in Soundview invite the Board of Selectmen and those running for selectmen in November to come to our community, to come to our community center and speak directly with our residents who will be, I guess, responsible for this project. So we invite you, and if you're open to that, I will get in touch with you and set a date with Gail to set up a meeting. We enjoyed that you came last year. It provided a lot of information and insight into your perspectives, and we welcome you to come back to our community and speak again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Okay, I'm now going to those people online. If you would like to speak, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, so unverified B, just raise your hand. Can you please unmute yourself and state your name and address, please?
I'm not sure who unverified B is.
Well, it says B unverified. You're mute. You raised your hand. Yep, there you go. Hold on one second. All right, hold on. 5399500. Just wait a second. Okay, B unverified. Will you please state your name and address?
Hi, good evening. Too many buttons to push sometimes. My name is Brian Cornell. I'm at 310 Portland Avenue Extension here in Old Lyme. And I have a comment or two. I'll be as brief as I can. And we'll go from there. As far as I know, the Old Lyme Shores bids have not gone out yet. Do we know when the bids will be posted? Traditionally, once posted, they remain posted for about 30 days. And when they're opened, then they're vetted by Fuss and O'Neill, by the DEEP of the state of Connecticut, and then, of course, by Old Lyme Shores. I'm concerned that if there is to be a public meeting on August 16th, and I know you may be addressing something later, followed by a presentation of some sort to you, the Board of Selectmen, on the 18th, and then to the Board of Selectmen on the 19th, Will that be enough time to allow to determine if Oline Shores is in or out of this project? And lastly, I would just remind others in the town who are not in our immediate shoreline area that if you're at Rogers Lake or places like that, if this project goes through, are you going to be next? Thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, next up would be the owner of 5399500. Please state your name and address.
Thank you, Martha. This is Bill Randazzo. I have property at 52 and 56 Hartford Avenue. And first, we say what Mary Daly just said. You know, I've gone to a bunch of committee meetings. I agree with her 100%. One concern I have is I don't understand why we're paying $800 an hour for an attorney. You know, that's my concern. Everything else, I don't want to rehash everything else you did. One positive thing I want to say, and I'll end my note here, is I had a chance to talk to your assessor's office about my property because I knocked down some stuff and did things. I got to tell you something. She was the most professional person I think I've ever talked to in the town hall. She was helpful. She did diligence. She was very explaining, and I can't give her enough kudos. And that's it.
Thank you for that comment. Okay, is there anyone else online that would like to offer public comment?
Yes.
Okay, that's 860-729-3999. Can you please state your name and address?
My name is Daniel Tricarico, Tricarico, 41 Hartford Avenue. I've got a lot of questions, but we'll start with really the first one. And since the bids have expired and they'll probably be extended with an inflationary index, I guess a way to increase the amount, what dollar amount for each bid is it going to be explained? Is it going to be a line item, or is it just going to fall into the black hole of the 5% contingency fund, which is already almost maxed out before we've even put a shovel in the ground?
Continue.
Okay, and the other thing is, this is kind of a personal thing towards the selectmen, is that my understanding of the interactions between the head of the WPCA and the Board of Selectmen have been less than honorable. I feel they're dismissive to you, and I don't know why these people are still on the WPCA. I feel they should be dismissed, and there should be representatives that respect the Board of Selectmen and work with them and are not dismissive. That's what I'd like to say.
Okay. Daniel, do you have anything else that you want us to know?
Not right now, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else on that would like to speak?
Yeah. Yes, I'd like
Okay.
to.
Oh, Carolyn, how are you?
I'm doing okay, thank you. I would like to say ditto to the gentleman that just spoke. I hope.
Wait, Carolyn, let me just identify you. You're Carolyn Miranda,
Yeah,
and you live on Biscayne.
this
What
came
number?
both. 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2.
I absolutely agree with the gentleman that just spoke. And as far as what Mary Daly has to say, she's been right on target forever and ever. And it's very apparent when we listen to meetings that WPCA meetings in particular, that there's a lot of hidden things, side swiping, stuff that doesn't get told. And absolutely, there's not enough transparency when people come from WPCA to talk to you. A lot of it, you got to read between the lines and filter things, and it's just not the integrity we would hope
that somebody running the PCA would engage in. So I hope you, all three of you, think about that. We need integrity, we need clarity, we need transparency, we need honesty, and for what it's worth, that's what my comments are. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak? Anyone else going once? Dennis Maluzzo, please unmute yourself.
Dennis Maluzzo's 7 Portland Ave. This is our perennial conversations that we've been discussing for years and years. I'm not certain if everyone is aware of the Sunday article in the Day regarding East Lyme sewers going to New London. This is a cost that's going to affect us. It's a cost that will never go away. I spoke with somebody in the middle in your picture a long time ago regarding regional treatment centers and what the towns that surround them are being forced to connect to their sewer systems is because of dollars. They need a lot of dollars to create treatment plants that can service the septic that they push out. Yep. Obviously, we know that New London has problems, and an aggressive treatment plant will not solve the problem. They're inherent. These go back to Roman times. This is not new stuff. To transport it from one end to another end is a cost factor. The Board of Selectmen 2 years ago asked Mary and myself to look at alternative septic systems that can come in cheaper over the long run than sewers. Sewers are an expense that grows like a cancer. I had a gentleman who is a renowned engineer in Saybrook, Mr. David Potts, to give a presentation to the chair and the members of the WPCA, and he was poo-pooed by the chair. I felt so bad for this man who is a well-known entity in on-site septic systems. This is what we need. We don't need to go back and go to another referendum. And I understand why the chair of the WPCA wants to do it now, because he's afraid that if in fact the bids come in too high and it affects the shared infrastructure, our costs are going to be out of sight and past the affordability factor for sewers. We don't need to go back to the beach people versus the town of Old Lyme. We fund your schools. You should be funding our sewers.
Yay.
And if that is what needs to happen, I've been on record opposing spending to the school system that you guys cherish. It's time to pay the piper and pay for our sewer systems. And as far as the state of Connecticut is concerned, it's a town of line sewer system. It's not Dennis Maluzzo's Portland Avenue sewer system that has to be paid for. You have a chance to rectify this conflict between the beach people, and I'll always be a beach person, and the town of 7,000 houses. That, guess what? If it happens to us, it's going to happen to you. And I hope that you have a good concept of what we're talking about. I don't just talk, I do. And I don't want to see what happened in 2012 with the school system happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak? Anyone else? Okay, 860-778-4888. Would you please state your name and your address?
Thank you, Martha. My name is Kathleen Tracy, Tracy. I'm at 76 Hartford Avenue. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again on this matter. I'm concerned about the sewers and things that people have said. I have to echo, but there's other things like these figures. Do the figures that I saw online include the $100,000 spent on easements? Who paid for the easements? And will the South Beach Area B be responsible for that part? Could you hear me?
Yes, again, we can't answer questions during public comment.
Okay.
Kathleen?
Okay. All right.
But we'll
Okay.
take them and then we can discuss them later.
Okay. And also, there is no line item here for management once the pipes are in the ground. So what do we do about that? And there's no line item for accounting and auditing. What about that? I mean, people are throwing out figures, and I'm not sure I've ever agreed that the figures are right and reasonable or true, because again, so many missing. People have said it over, and I don't want to circle the wagons twice, but I worry that the figures that are being presented are not true. Anyway, I am opposed to going out to referendum at this time, and I think that's it for now. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who is online that would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one else, the last call for public comment. And we're going to move on in our agenda. Okay, so we're going to move to approval of minutes, hopefully. I think we can all agree that the special Board of Selectmen, the first one up is our special Board of Selectmen meeting on July 7th. Can we have a motion first?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of July 7th.
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the special Board of Selectmen meeting for July 7th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Then we have our regular meeting minutes of July 7th. Can I have a motion to approve those, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Jim. Okay, any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes of July 7th?
I'd like to make a request to table the approval of these minutes until our next meeting, so I could review that transcript.
Okay,
I had a
I just
correction.
received the transcript today, so.
so let's review it all at one time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we should have just, could have popped that in. So we're going to, then we need you to amend your motion. Can you amend your motion to say that we're going to move this to our next meeting?
I will make a motion to amend the minutes or the agenda so that we can review and then approve our minutes at our next Board of Selectmen meeting, the first Monday of August.
I will second.
Okay. No further discussion on that, I'm assuming, because we're just going to move this. So can I have a vote? All those in favor of moving the approval of these minutes to our next meeting so we can review the transcript, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. We'll move those to our first meeting in August. Thank you both for that. Okay. Next up would be a presentation by the Open Space Commission. Greg and Ann are coming forward. And I know, Ann, you want Katie to pull that up now?
That would be great. Sure.
So Katie, can you share your screen with the map that you have, please? And we'll get that up for you.
Are you seeing it?
Yep.
Okay, so the Open Space Commission is proposing to place conservation easements on the Bartholomew Open Space and the Ferry Landing Wildlife Refuge properties. We consulted with legal counsel and
Bartholomew is the one that has a
blue.
blue outline,
Yes,
and Ferry Landing has a kind of an orange outline close to the river.
yes. Well, and now I can't quite see them.
We
But
just went over.
Katie, can you, I don't know what you did, but yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I was
great.
trying to get some work done.
Okay, so those are the two properties in question, Ferry Landing in the yellow on the left and Bartholomew on the right in blue. We did contact an attorney, Mike Carey, to find out what the procedural aspects might be, and there are a number of steps to follow in order to put a conservation easement on a piece of town property. And the first one is to have your consent. The Board of Selectmen need to consent to the idea of moving forward with it. And then there will be other procedural steps, including coordination with planning. And ultimately, because the conveyance of an easement is considered the conveyance of property rights, it's akin to, even though there's no cash changing hands, it's considered similar enough to the sale of a property. So that would ultimately go to a town meeting.
Can you tell me and the public what, by doing this, what is the benefit? Thank you.
I would love to.
Thank you.
We wanted to familiarize you with the properties, why it's important to protect them this way, and what's involved.
Thank you.
The Bartholomew property was the first property that was donated to Open Space Committee at that time, now Commission, and with the idea of preserving it as natural lands for public enjoyment. And the Ferry Landing property was acquired more recently as part of a subdivision set aside for approval of a subdivision in that neighborhood. And the Open Space Commission, with support from the town, has had a years-long project there, working on a habitat restoration project. Both properties have significant natural resources, including large freshwater ponds and habitat value. And Bartholomew has hiking trails, but Ferry Landing does not, in that it's a wildlife refuge, the town's first wildlife refuge. So, so there's, investment and value, excuse me, in both these properties. And, without a conservation easement on either of them, there's actually nothing that would prevent the properties from being sold or developed in some way. And so that's why we feel, and they are the only two open space properties that don't already have a conservation easement on them. So we're
How large is the ferry landing property?
at 8.5.
That large? Wow.
Yeah, 7-acre pond.
Well, that's why. That's what-
And 1.5-acre upland.
Okay. And Bartholomew is a large piece. I'm familiar with that one. Great. And you need our approval to move forward?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So,
Just, yeah, we would love to have your approval, your agreement that we would move forward with the process. We would, of course, come back to you with more specifics on the easement, but there will be a cost, primarily consulting with an attorney to draft the conservation easement and to go forward with this. And the process would include eventually approval from the Board of Selectmen and approval from planning, basically centered on whether this would be in compliance with the POCD.
Right.
Ann and Greg, do you know if the land trust also has conservation easements in all of their properties?
I believe they do on many of them. I don't know to what extent, Jim.
Be an interesting.
I would mention though that I know the land trust has received state assistance for buying for some of its properties, including their acquisition, which is in progress for the Eklund property in East Old Lyme. And it's a mandate for any state grant that any property purchased with state funds have a permanent conservation easement on it. So it's kind of standard practice. And these two properties do have, and they're not, I wouldn't call them prime development properties, but there's a home going up right next to the upland portion of Ferry Road.
Right.
And the back part of Bartholomew does have a lot of dry area. So, I mean, that would potentially be an area that might be developed in the future.
Okay.
And those are, excuse me, and those are also properties that we've invested town funds in to return them to a good natural state.
So, and on in the same vein as the state requirement for acquisition fund support, last year, the Open Space Commission approached the Army Corps of Engineers with interest in pursuing a fee in lieu grant for further habitat restoration work at Ferry Landing. And we were told that we were ineligible because there is no conservation protection.
So that is a drawback if you do not have it.
Yes.
Yep. That makes sense.
It's actually a fairly substantial pot of money, but we were told
Denied.
not yet.
Okay.
So if there's any questions about easements and what they involve and, any of that, be happy to.
Do you know how many easements you'll need? Just the
One
two
per
One for
property.
each.
one per property. Okay. I would, for us to vote on this, it would have to come to us at the next meeting. So I know you've done a beautiful write-up and I would really like to include that in our minutes, just so that the town is aware of exactly. So if you want to change anything or whatever and get it to me tomorrow, when Suzanne sends the minutes, I'll attach it as an addendum. That would be perfect. And then we can put this on our agenda. And in the meantime, if Jude or Jim or I come up with questions, we'll just address them to both of you individually, and then you can respond, and we'll ask you to come back if you don't mind to our August 4th meeting, because we like seeing you.
I have one question. Have you encountered any pushback on any of the other easements when you've gone through with something like this? I would hope not, but thought I'd find out.
I think that a lot of the other properties, the easement was part of the transfer, at least at the time we acquired it.
Right.
The McCulloch property was primarily available because it already was under easement. Available because it was not available to developers in the family. And what the town did primarily was purchase access to the property. It's a lovely property. It's one of our most used properties.
Mm. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the update.
Okay, and I'll get that to Katie and we'll see.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Katie, you could stop sharing your screen. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to new business. First one is Midsummer Festival and fireworks. Just to give you both update in case you aren't following along, but basically, Friday evening is the concert at the Flo Grizz where the Mighty Soul Drivers kicking off the evening at 7. And then Saturday we have the Midsummer Run. That starts at 8 a.m. and the police department and the Midsummer team, along with LYSB, have been working on the security and the road closures for that. Don't forget that we do have the classic car show also from 9:30 to 1:30 and a host of other activities at the Flo Grizz. Both events can be found either at Explore Old Lyme or at the Flo Grizz website for more information. And then on Saturday night, we'll have our fireworks in the town. Those will be at the high school. The band will begin, the Old Lyme town band will begin at 7:30 and conclude about 8:45. And then fireworks should kick off at about 9 o'clock. The shuttle, there will be a shuttle from the Old Lyme Marketplace near the Bowerbird. If you'd like to park in that area and come back, please, and come over, that would be great. We'll be running a shuttle bus. I do want people to be realizing that behind Center School, we should not be parking. There, because of construction, it being a construction zone, you can certainly park in the middle school, high school lots. You can park along Lime Street in the available spaces and use.
In the library.
In the library that's not open and walk on over. So those are all happening. Are there any questions from my fellow selectmen about Midsummer Festival?
Are you two running in the race?
No. Are you?
Neither am I.
But I would be more than glad to cheer you on.
Thank you.
I was asked, but I'm not running. I'm not even walking this time. Okay, that's that. Okay, then we're going to go to the WPCA. I wish that Mary was staying in the room so that she would get updated. I don't know if
Should we make an amendment to the agenda to move C before B?
Is that a problem? This shouldn't take long because this is just for.
I know, but they've gone out for a drink of water and.
Well, they're here. They're right here. All right. So, okay. So I wanted to go over the schedule for that's slated. So there are a number of things that legally has to happen for this referendum to actually happen. So the first thing that would have to happen is, and I'm just reading because our bonding attorney covers all the legal jargon so that we make sure. But the first thing would be that the Board of Selectmen would have to have a presentation from the WPCA chair on August 4th of 2025. And we would be asking him for the presentation that he would be doing for the public later on, and then to answer any of our questions. Just earlier today, we got a draft of this cost sharing agreement updated. It is a draft. We are just seeing it literally like at what, 3:30?
Yeah,
3:34 o'clock. So we have not had time to review that yet. So he would come before us on August 4th. If we decided we would have to approve the supplemental appropriation resolution that has been prepared for this particular project. So we would have to see that his presentation meets the resolution that has been prepared. Then we would have to say to move it to the Board of Finance. Remember, nothing goes to referendum unless the town at a town meeting votes on it to go. to a referendum. Then the Board of Finance would also hear from the WPCA on August 19th. I have a date. Wait 1 second. I think this one doesn't get crushed. Okay. On August 18th, the WPCA is scheduled to have an informational meeting where all townspeople can come. It's going to be held at the high school because it's our largest facility, but also because it's the only one that's open.
Can you
For the
back up for a second?
Sure.
You mentioned Board of Finance and August 19th, and then you said to the
I'm
public.
sorry, I went back. I'm
Oh.
sorry. August 18th is the public meeting
Okay,
where they have asked questions. We vote on the resolution on the 18th, on the 4th, if we are going to move it forward to town meeting, but the Board of Finance also has to recommend the supplemental appropriation authorization to a town meeting at their meeting on August 19th, which may be moved to a different date.
okay,
But we're not sure if it is.
got it.
It would be in August. And it would probably be before the 19th, between the 12th and the 19th. Then we would go to, we have the informational meeting on the 18th, Board of Finance. There would be an informational mailer that has to go out to be printing to everyone in town. There would also be a referendum question that would have to be submitted around the same time. Then a notice of a special town meeting would come out. And the special town meeting is supposed to be held on September 2nd. So please remember, all these dates are picked because we have to follow the Connecticut General Statute of what has to be the timeline. That's why these things are chosen in advance. It also takes a great deal of coordination from our registrars of voters and our town clerks to make sure we have poll workers. So that's why we put it out there, because we have to be prepared either way. Okay, it's like preparing for the hurricane, but you know, if it doesn't come, that's fine, but we have to be prepared. So if that takes place, the special town meeting would be held on, all those things have to line up and come due. And then a special town meeting would be held on September 2nd. The town meeting is what sets to approve the WPC item to a vote by tabulator, which would be done on September 9th. Now, absentee ballots would be available for this on August 9th, on September 9th, and there would be a referendum, and that would be held in the middle school gym, just like any other voting day, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And that day is the 9th?
The 9th. And all of this has to fall into place and be approved by the residents of this town. So they have an informational meeting to come to ask questions and have their questions answered. They have the opportunity at the town meeting to ask some questions before moving forward to moving it to referendum. And then there has to be a vote on that as well. We do not vote to go to referendum. We only vote to move towards referendum. And so does the Board of Finance. So I just want to make it clear that there are hoops to be gone through.
So that special meeting would be the day after Labor Day.
The special town meeting?
Right.
Yes, because of the date. It has to be 7 days before the referendum.
Okay.
So this is what we have for timelines right now. Things always have a tendency to change, depending on who's available when. But so far, that is what we have scheduled. And we'll continue to listen to you and move forward and get the CSA. And we're going to ask questions of Steve for that as well, because that was one of our requirements many months ago, that would be agreed upon. Do you have either one of you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, we were, I know WPCA was originally talking about June for a referendum, and I thought that was unrealistic, and we see that it was. This is a very tight timeline, and I've been working very hard with Steve. I told him back in May that if we're going to hit a referendum, even in August, we need to get the CSA, we need to get the sewer ordinance. The CSA we just saw today.
Right.
The notion that we're going to get a finalized sewer ordinance and CSA before the 9th of September, I think is ambitious. We also know that Miami Beach will not have bids until the 12th of August. So, and we know that if Miami Beach comes in unaffordable, or if again, they get no bids, this project is dead. So if we're going to be discussing in advance of that on August 4th, whether to advance this to referendum, we're going to have a large chunk of information missing.
Right.
Even if we say, you know, and Old Lyme Shores, we're not even talking about them. So I think if we do go to referendum, we would have to proceed with the idea that Old Lyme Shores will not be part of the project. They may be, but we have to have our calculations reflect on Old Lyme Shores not being part of the project. And I don't see how we can move this forward without the Miami Beach bid available to us, and that's on August 12th. So having a meeting on the 4th, I think it's, you know, it's academic at that point, because we won't have the information necessary. And also, you mentioned the article that was in the paper yesterday, and this is important because I've been going on and on about this and just getting nowhere with it, that New London will need upgrades and we will pay for a portion of that. East Lyme is a stressed system at capacity. And I keep getting the feedback from WPCA. I don't know what you're talking about. Where do you get that? Well, here it is. In the day yesterday, the town has all the sewage it can handle and to accommodate expected development and wants the sewage treatment plant in New London to grow by half. This is East Lyme. The expansion would cost between 50 and 70 million. Now, 5 years ago, they were talking about 100 million. So this is very optimistic and conservative. Well, let's say it is 50 to 70 million. That broken down for Old Lyme or Soundview's portion, Soundview in Town Area B, would be $13,000 per EDU. That breaks down without financing. Now, just if you're just doing straight calculation, about $600 a month. So when we were talking about maintenance fees, the yearly maintenance fees, they were talking about $400 to $600 a year. I mean, I'm sorry, $600 a year for the to pay for this expansion. So already just this East Lyme and New London expansion at these very conservative figures, that's $600 a year for Soundview right there. So the operation and maintenance fees are incomplete, very, unrealistic. So as I've been saying before, we would need to have all of these costs delineated. And I agree with Mary that the connection fee, all the private beaches are rolling the connection fee to New London, which is a one-time fee to connect to the system. So that is a capital expense. It's not an operating expense. The other beaches roll that into their EDU calculation, and thus it's rolled into their affordability calculation. RWPCA tells us that's not necessary. We're not doing that. And there seems to be a lot of costs that are being thrown into this black hole that, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, that's just pennies, oh, this and that. This is really starting to add up. And I haven't stood in the way of this project in any way. I just want to make sure that we have realistic numbers. And if it's affordable, it's affordable. If it's not, it's not. But I'm not going to stand by these games that we're playing. And I will say that there have been games to game this calculation to make it seem affordable. And I just want to see all the numbers so that we know what we're voting on. Because, you can have faith in God, but I don't have faith in, bureaucrats.
WPCA.
It's like, don't take my word for it, and I don't take their word for it. I want to see the numbers, and so that's where I stand on it.
So the numbers are supposed to be presented to us on August 4th.
But he won't have them because we don't know what Miami Beach's numbers will be.
So at this point in time, we can say no and just not move forward.
I
Or,
think it's premature to
Or what-
think that we are going to have the information in the order that you have laid out.
I would feel better myself if we allowed Steve to come before us. He was away last week on vacation, so I did not have a chance to talk to him. But I do believe that we owe him the opportunity to speak to
Of
us.
course.
And I don't think that we should, I think it would, not to say that we're being unsupportive, but I do feel that he has to have his time to present to us as we've given other people to present. So I think it's only right that he tell us where he is
Oh, that's,
with all of these types of things, the
I-
CSA, the
the more
sewer
dialogue, the
ordinance.
better. I've spent many hours talking with Steve. I'll spend many more hours talking with him.
Yes,
Um,
I know that.
the more talk, the better. I just don't see how we can move it, vote to move it to referendum, not having these numbers on August 4th. To me, that's unrealistic. But to have Steve present, to have us ask questions, that's fine.
But I need you to understand that there is a timeline that we put in place so that everyone has to know that if this came about, this
Right.
is where our timeline would be. Kathy and Jen have had things thrown on them in the past where it says, we need a referendum on this
understand.
date. And they're like, in fact, they already pushed this off because somebody wanted August and they said, absolutely not. That middle school gym is too hot.
And I know there's a clock ticking with the bids as well. The bids already expired.
There's an-
So there's, an extension on all of them, I believe, except the pump station, which is still up in the air.
Mhm.
And that's going to expire in October. So I understand that there's a time constraint here that we're up against, but we can't just plunge in. We need the numbers. We need to know what we're doing.
I totally agree with you.
And one final point I'd like to make is Steve has expressed at this meeting on the 18th, he will not entertain any debate on whether alternative systems are preferable to sewers. And I understand why he's saying that, but I think it's passing strange that you're going to have a town meeting about the biggest infrastructure project the town will have undertaken in its history, whose expenses will be borne by a small portion of the population. And you won't allow them to debate whether the project is necessary or not, or whether alternatives are superior. And this has been the problem. We've never been allowed to debate that question. And I think it would be very strange if we went to Halls Road, for example, and said, well, we can talk about the overlay, but you can't talk about opposing the overlay. It's like a question and answer session, information session. Debate should be open and free. So I question the wisdom of not allowing questioning if we're going to referendum on this, I think all points of view need to be heard.
Well, I think that the nice part of doing that is that there would be two opportunities for the town to weigh in. One would be the informational meeting, and the other one would be the town meeting. And there would be two options for people. And, but like I said, we try to plan and we put out a plan, and if the plan goes awry, it goes awry.
So the worst that happens is these dates move out.
Yep.
I see no harm in that.
So, Jimmy,
I'm done. I'm done with my filibuster.
okay. I will relay the information to Steve, and I will relay the information to our bonding attorney as well, just to put them on the clerk. Okay, so we have a couple of appointments that need to be made for vacancies. And I was able, but for the Old Lyme Senior Center, their years start in June, and they expired in June, and Dave Griswold has resigned, and we have an opening. And in January, Sean Mastrioni asked to be appointed to the Old Lyme Senior Center Board. I know he went to a meeting in November. He also attended the meeting today. And Peter Lucchese is here. Peter has asked that he be nominated. and put on to the Lyme Senior Center Board as a regular member.
I'm happy to nominate Sean as a full member to the Senior Center Board.
I will second.
Any other discussion? Sean, SHAUN. Last name is MASTROIANNI.
I'd like to say that I know this is one of Sean's areas of expertise, so we'd be lucky to have him on the board.
Okay. Any further? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor of
Aye.
appointing?
Aye.
Okay,
Sorry
sorry.
for him before. That's great.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, no Sean's here. Congratulations. And then we have one more.
Thank you, Sean.
We have Wendell Weber has asked to be appointed to the flood and has applied to be on the Flood and Erosion Control Board. They've also had a couple of they have a vacancy. Catherine Tuma, who's co-chair, said she had the opportunity to meet him. He's been to a meeting. She said he seems like an excellent candidate and would be a valuable addition. Wendell has an experience in EMS and fire service. He also has several FEMA certifications in emergency management, which they feel would be helpful.
I feel like we had a big wave of people apply. We've had a couple resign. Is that what's happened, or there's more openings?
We've had one person resign because they cannot make it to the meetings due to an illness in their family. But Wendell had applied in June and then went to some meetings, and I believe he also spoke to Russ, but I didn't hear back from Russ today.
How many seats are on that?
Mostly,
9, I think.
there's
9.
9.
Are they full now?
They would be full at this point. And they're all working really hard on the CRS.
Okay, saw
So
that.
they've divided out. So if I could have a motion to appoint Wendell.
Make a motion to appoint Wendell Weber to Flood and Erosion Control.
I'll second. Somebody second. You can pick. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of appointing Wendell Weber to the Flood and Erosion Control Board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations to Weber. Just so you know, I did put this together, and Suzanne, I have a copy for you, but these are the vacancies that's currently sit. So you have them in case you know people who would be interested. Suzanne, you could put these in. But basically, for those online, we're looking still for members for the America 250 Committee. We have one alternate position on the Board of Assessment Appeals. We have an alternate position on the Conservation Commission. We have 2 regular positions open on the Economic Development Commission. Road and Public Safety Committee needs 2 more people. Shoreline Gateway Commission has 5 regular positions open. Waste and Recycling Committee has 3 regular positions, and the Water Pollution Control Authority has 1 alternate position available.
I'd also like to mention that Road and Public Safety, we're particularly looking for people from the north part of town and the northwest part of, or northeast part of town rather, which is not represented
Right.
currently.
We have a heavy concentration of people in the Sylvane and Line Street
Ferry Road,
facilities.
yeah.
But-
So we have people along 4 Mile River, which has some serious road and public safety issues. That'd be great.
Okay, next up is Hatchett's Hill. Jude, you asked for this to go on the agenda.
I had 2 and this week I met with 2 people from town. In the past, I've heard other concerns about number 1, the traffic, which we've discussed. The second part, and I'm not sure I pronounce this correctly, Sukaki. And what's going on up there? I am not familiar with the application that they submitted and what the terms are of it. but it seems to have been going on for a long time, and people came to me and said they're supposed to be putting in a driveway, and it appears they're running a gravel pit selling operation. Is that in compliance with zoning? Are they in compliance with the permission they were granted? And in fact, were they given a driveway permit to go in and make a driveway, or are they abusing the property?
So this is why I brought up 2 months ago, and we're writing the letters to the
Right.
Hatchet Hill people about
Exactly.
using Hatchet Hill Road. So specifically in their agreement with, from 21 with zoning, unless the material removed from the site is being delivered for use at a location in the town of Old Lyme, all hauling trucks will have to use I-95 to leave town for their destination. That
Is this
means
only for them or everyone?
only for them.
Okay.
And that was specifically put in there because of
Okay.
the size of the trucks and what they
Right.
could hauling.
Okay.
They asked for, that was 21.
Right.
They came back before the full zoning board
Right.
on November 12th of 24.
Yes.
And they were given an extension of 2 years to finish this said driveway.
And that was 24.
This was just in 24 in
Okay.
November. So we have about a year and a half
Do we
left
have-
on this.
Do you know when I will?
And they told it would not be extended.
Okay, and I will reach out to zoning and see if plans were submitted for the extent of the driveway. So I guess my concern is, are they running a larger operation? And of course, you've probably heard this as well, so that's why I'm asking.
I think it's a question for Eric.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
then I know that he sent you, but that he sent you the one from November 12th.
yeah, but that was for the Stark property. It's not the one regarding, I printed it out.
This was it's Northland LLC, which owns Sukaki.
Okay, I misunderstood what I read.
I did too, because I went back and double checked.
Yeah, whereas I got one.
Yeah,
This
this one.
permit cannot be further extended, right? Then I was not familiar that it was shocking.
That's their head
Okay, see, I was,
company.
got it. I thought this was Stark's property.
Nope. And
Okay.
because I went back and double checked. just to
So
make sure.
I will follow up on this and see if I can find out more.
And this is,
Because the driveway is one thing, running a gravel pit operation, industrial is different.
well, I don't know when they were approved for a business. Because the driveway, when they moved in,
Mhm.
because I will tell you that, coming back in 21 from a meeting in East Lyme, Tim happened to be in my car and he said something about Hatchet's Hill. And I said, have you seen what's going on up there? Because I used to use that road. My kids called it the cut through.
Right.
And
everybody.
we got off 95 and they would say, oh, take the cut through home. And that was a dirt road going up the hill
I
then.
know. Yep.
But I hadn't been there in like years and I was there in the summer of 21 and went, what has happened
And
here?
I've seen that, but I haven't gone into their property to
Be careful.
drive up because it's well,
It looks like a construction zone.
it does. And I'm fearful that it's not safe for people to be up in there or I'm trespassing. So it's not so much the Hatchet's Hill Road that goes from 4 Mile to Public Works or up to the connector that I'm concerned about, as you're hearing now, is what's going on beyond that off to the left, which I refer to as the old depot property. So I will follow up with Eric now.
Which just had some problems too.
Right.
Fulfilling their regulations that they were supposed to do.
Well,
But I think that I totally agree. I don't know, though, they must have, when they purchased this property, I'm assuming, applied for some type of zoning regulation for whatever type of company they were. But that was prior to 21. And then the extension was to do some type of a driveway at the top where I guess they were going to loop around. I believe there was also something in there about the number of trucks. I only have this one
Yeah.
particular page from 21, but I believe there was also something about the number of 18-wheelers that could be parked on the property at any given time. And I think that there's
And
some,
you've seen it now.
and I think that
They're
there's,
not just 18-wheelers or rock crushing equipment and so on.
well, that is different because of, I don't know.
No,
It's not my, I mean, yes, we oversee it and we knew it, but we can issue and I can write to Paul and
I
tell him
think-
that the three of us are concerned about this.
I think it needs a visit,
Okay,
if we can request that.
I can,
Thank you.
no problem. Okay, you guys ready for your homework?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I sent you the employee handbook old version and new version. For those of you in the audience, this could take a while. So we have an employee handbook that was updated in 21 with some minor revisions, and then we started revising it under, let's see, Tim's reign with two different HR people. And
Actually, I don't think she had one, but for a couple of weeks.
oh, she was less than 90 days. Let's put
Yeah,
it that way.
but I
She
meant-
had started to make some adaptations, and then,
And other than that, I don't know that we've ever had an HR person till now.
well, we had Sheila. We had another one.
She was a consultant, right? Who
But she
came
was
in and
hired,
Did
but she was-
evaluation, right?
No, she was more than that, but okay. Anyway, to make a long story short, here's what we've come up with, and this has gone through legal already.
Mhm.
So it was missing some things. It didn't have some of the policies. I don't expect you to know all of it right now. I'm not quizzing you at the end of this meeting, but I would like to, in the past, there have been in historical data, there have been sometimes when this has been an FYI.
Mhm.
This is what I'm adopting from a first select person. And then there's also been one time when it was presented to the board of selectmen for a vote and approval. And I'm happy to do that, but I would like to move it along as quickly as possible. If you have questions on any particular piece now, we could go over them. But I'd really like to get this approved by the August 4th meeting and have any of your questions or changes made and approved by legal before then, because I would really like to move this forward.
I have a question. I'm not sure it's relevant to the handbook, but it's a question about process. I don't see in here, and it may be under policy. Is there any sort of policy regarding employee reviews?
Yes, it's in there.
Okay, and
It's in the new version.
and who, the protocol, who houses the employee files, and are employees allowed to access their own files?
Employees are always able to access their own. files.
And I know that they're private, and I'm wondering where and who is responsible for taking care of those and who has access. Let's see.
Payroll, anyone who deals with HR issues as far as like paperwork for filing for your, your Blue Cross, your changes to your 457, your 401k, anything like that,
I
that
saw
can
that.
have access. So there's probably 4 to 5 people that have access to them, but you have to request a key.
So it's okay, key. And if somebody has a suggestion, complaint, or a concern, I saw how they're supposed to do it, and that is included in their file when they discuss it or file something.
I don't necessarily believe that they would. It doesn't have to go when you make a suggestion for a change in process, doesn't have to go
If
in there.
someone has a complaint or a concern, where does it go and how is it handled?
Well, I guess it would depend on who it's for, but if there was a complaint, they would
Mhm.
make the complaint to me.
Okay.
Or to HR, depending on
Okay.
what they want to do. Some people, I mean, in my past experience as a union lead, they used to usually make it to their supervisor.
Okay.
their supervisor then would either go to HR or to me, depending on who it was about. And then there'd be a discussion.
I know it's been a problem in the past, and that's why a couple of years ago, there was an investigation and a lot of reports that I think it was early on your watch or the end of Tim's watch where there was an investigation. There was a lot of information that people had provided over a year or two, or if not longer, that was either missing or people felt they weren't heard. So I'm concerned that this doesn't happen again.
Okay.
So that's one of the things I have a concern about.
Well, I think that you have to read through this because this is pretty extensive stuff. And there are steps that are taken for.
I'd like to know that people feel comfortable if they have a complaint.
So
as to how and where it goes.
Well, that is also one of those policies that our policy person,
I thought it was
our policy, what person is going to be putting together. So there will be employee policies. There's going to be Board of Finance policies. There's going to be policies for just about everything that we've forgotten that we had policies for, because I tried to get the bidding policy from the Board of Finance approved when I first came on. I also mentioned it to Tim during my first 2 years. The Board of Finance bidding policy had never been approved by the Board of Finance. It was a draft form only, but we've been working it because that's how we save $15,000 because there should be a bidding policy. And that's why we go out to bid, save money. But
yeah,
policies,
that's one of my concerns.
but this is a handbook for more, your 401k, your Blue Cross, your Blue Shield.
That's why I said I wasn't sure it came under this purview, but it's a concern.
It is addressed under reporting in the new
Yeah.
edits.
The new
It
edits.
says any employee who believes that the actions or words of a supervisor, a fellow employee, or any outside party in the workplace constitute unwelcome harassment or unlawful discrimination has a responsibility to report such conduct immediately to their immediate supervisor. If any employee is uncomfortable raising their complaint with someone to whom they report, or if the complaint involves someone in their direct line of command, then that employee should bring the complaint to the department head, the first selectman, select woman, or any managerial representative of the town. No exceptions to reporting, et cetera.
Yeah, I read that.
So
I just want to make sure that people are approachable and the system is in place that people feel comfortable with.
Well, since I've been here, there've been a number of things that people have said, hey, I think we need to do this. And I think we've done almost all of them. We got a picnic table. We moved the refrigerator upstairs. They said, we don't like the way this is handled. I said, okay, let's sit down and talk about it. So I've been pretty open. And one of the things I think some of the changes that I want to make in here is I think that the vacation time is one of those things because there's a large gap. You get so many vacation weeks until 5 years. Then 5 years, you get an upgrade to 3 weeks. Then you get another upgrade at 4 weeks at 10 years. And then you have to wait to your 20th year before you get 5 weeks. So I'd sort of like to do something in the middle for those people that hang on for another 10 years, that if we could go from 20 days to like maybe 22 and give them just a little boost. Because if you look at corporate world now, most companies are offering, my son's company offers unlimited vacation time as well as long as you don't abuse it.
I agree with that.
They also give summer Fridays. They have
30-hour work weeks too, though.
Huh?
We offer a 30-hour work week and an 8% match.
Right.
So that's pretty good too.
It is. And we give those things, but I'll tell you, the one thing that I'm seeing with vacation time is our people don't like to use it until all of a sudden it's May and they go, oh, I got to use this by June. And we try not to carry over, but we've had some instances with people being out on extended leaves, which if you are in a department where you only have 6 people or 3 people and someone's out on, you can't use your vacation time. And I'm not going to not roll it over for them because it's not like they didn't try to use it. They were needed where they had to be. So they don't get paid. If they leave with vacation time on the books, they don't. So I think it's just that we need to be respectful of our people, especially for those people who have had such a duration in this town and have served this town so long, that they should get some type of a little give somewhere between 10 and 20 years. So there is a comment in there. So I'm happy to have you send a list of thoughts, questions. I just ask, please do not reply all. Send them individually. You can send them to Jill, you can send them to me, but we really like to get this into effect so that people will have the ability to use it. Any further discussion on this? Thoughts? Anything? Please remember too that the original Finally book did not include certain things like standard government, state law. So we've tried to put that into place. And Gene Wilzinski on Pension Committee also feels that our 457 really and truly, they shouldn't have a 6-month probation to get onto the 457, because the way the pension plan is written for that, that's their own individual. So if they want to start putting in money right away, they should be able to. That's their contribution only, not ours. So that 457, it's not the way the Empower plan is set up. She sent me some language on it, which I have. If anybody wants to see it, I thought I pulled it, so I have it with me. Maybe I did not. Oh yeah, it's right here. She said in March, they met and said, we determined the current employee handbook guidance on eligibility for participating in the deferred compensation plan 457 conflicts with the new plan documents. And she gave me the website to find them. The current plan document for the 457 plan allows for immediate participation eligibility for employees who are at least 21 years of age, not after 6 months of full-time employment per our handbook. So she also provided later some new language that she believes that for the included and the excluded employees that she feels. And as you know, Jean works in finance and wealth management, so has some experience. So would like to enter that into, this has not, she sent this in June. This has not gone through legal, but it would before it's included.
I don't care if you want to send it to us before or after it goes through legal, but I don't see a problem with that.
Okay.
It's their own money.
So is there anything else that you see that concerns you? Because you got this on Friday, so.
Unfortunately, I was not up and reading on Friday.
Okay.
So
There's a lot of like typos and stuff like that
Yes,
to clean up.
exactly.
I didn't see anything that was objectionable.
I did not either. I was happy to see the items about the dress code. No flip-flops, no printed t-shirts, no political t-shirts with comments and agendas, a casual business dress code. I did not have a problem with that. And as I said, the concerns I did have were probably regarding policy.
We also talked about, let's talk about this just for a minute, because this is my idea. We really need, most times when you travel, we pay for mileage if they go to a workshop or things like that, but there's sometimes meals reimbursement. We reimburse for parking fees and mileage if they go to a workshop. But then it is, are we going to provide them reimbursement for lunches and dinners if they are not, then the police department gets this. If they have a meal allowance, Public Works can also have one. So I think it's only fair that if they're traveling somewhere, and if they don't get served lunch, and I have gone to meetings in Hartford where there has been no lunch. Not that I need anything and I wouldn't put in for it anyways, but basically most of the time you see things, and you do have this in the school system. No, you don't reimburse for any alcohol if you're on an overnight. And we do have people that go overnight, a couple of them on their professional things. Dinner, it could be $20, lunch is $15, and breakfast is $10. So that's the cap. But if you think the caps should be higher, because as we all know, prices have gone up, we could do that. But I do think we should put something in for a cap on these. So do you have any suggestions? Because then this would be written in. And I can also ask Mikhail, legal. our labor attorney if he has any suggestions, because he certainly does enough of these. Do you have any?
My concern is we're going to have to change that annually if that's the case, because somebody waits another 5 years to revise this, $22 isn't going to be enough.
Well,
And
then that would be easy change, though. That would be an easy change. And sometimes we can go by federal government guidelines.
I don't have any recollection of anyone in Public Works or the police where they may be going overnight, but I don't picture them going out for anything other than I don't want to call it a standard dinner, but a standard dinner for lunch. We're not sending them to a.
Well, the police department has it because it's not because they're traveling for work, but because of their hours. If they work a certain number of hours over, they get a meal.
Okay.
Public Works.
And that's not in their contract?
It is in their contract.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. This employee handbook is for our people here in this building.
Right, so I
And
can't picture them spending a lot of time,
We have number of people who go and spend, because they go to a professional conference,
exactly.
which is
Right.
2 to 3 days.
Oh,
And-
okay,
and the
I
meal-
wasn't
and we're talking-
familiar, they were at sleepovers.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they pay it out of their budget. They budget for it. But the reimbursement for the meals should be capped. They shouldn't just be able to put in for a $35 meal.
Fine.
I mean, you try to, in the world of education, I was capped at what I could have. And
Anything else, you pay the difference.
you pay the difference.
Which
So,
makes sense because
Right.
if you
So
were,
this-
home, you were eating anyway.
right.
So,
And there are people who, we will say that our public works department now is going to the T2 school to get trained.
awesome.
So therefore, most of the time, those trainings are during the day, it's like 8 to 2, and they provide them lunch. So there is no reimbursement. But if, say, they didn't, they would be able to run out to Subway or something and get something to eat.
That's
I have some contracts with municipal agencies and with Electric Boat, and they usually allow about $15
For lunch.
for lunch.
That makes sense, and I would think around 25 for dinner.
But,
I
you know,
don't think
but that's for like, when people are called out for long plow shifts and stuff like
Yeah,
that. There's a question of, people are gonna eat anyway. Do we are we obligated to reimburse?
something, yes.
Well, I think if you're doing something for your job, like a professional conference where you have to go to get your certification renewed, your CEUs, it's something that's required, and that's something for your job. And therefore, we should be backing them. We don't provide them with much for education as far as furthering their education, although, our assessor goes to various things. She not only goes to receive new education, she's also presents and teaches for other assessors throughout the state up at UConn. So I think that if we're going to treat our people as professionals, we need to see that they're taken care of when they are. And this is very not often. I mean, this
Right,
is
that's
once
what
a
I'm
year
getting
for
at.
maybe 3 or 4 people. But it should be stated because
I think it should be for employees. If there was someone here who's doing consulting work, that's part of their own budget. So
they wouldn't
I
even
know,
be into
but
this.
if we have a consultant working on a project here and there, including going to a conference at the casino or something, I think that's on their nickel. But I have no dispute with 15 and 25 or 30 for dinner.
Okay. I'll ask Pat and then see if
Yeah.
I think there is
There's
a
a standard.
I think there's a standard for the federal government, so we'll look at that. But please, if when you get into a reading mode of mind.
Oh, I
You could send
started
them to-
today.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, next up is our new ordinances and enforcements. I just wanted to say that the parking lot ordinance and the golf cart ordinances are in effect. I have asked for them to be enforced. I know that there's a couple of instances where they have not. So we continue to work on that with our police department because we have fines for the golf carts. We provided times for people to come to have their golf carts inspected. We gave them phone numbers to contact. They could reach me, they could call Tony. And there are some that have failed the inspection, and I know that are driving their golf cart, and it's not registered. It's not completely registered yet. And then I think it becomes a liability for the town too, because we have an ordinance, we say this is supposed to happen. So please feel free, if you're out and about down in the Soundview or Hawks Nest area and you see a cart without an inspection sticker, take note. Let me know.
Also have to note that one of the bars is selling parking as a standalone option.
And I think that's a zoning issue.
It is.
So that's another
Second thing for
another.
Eric.
Is it one? I thought it was both.
I observed one, but it could be both.
I heard both. I have not witnessed.
I know we've enforced it against other businesses, so we have to be
You have
consistent.
to.
Okay. Okay. And I will be doing a follow-up meeting with all of the beach associations on Thursday to talk about the 4th of July. Because of the comments. Okay. Heavily in praise, and then one or two that didn't like a couple of things. So I just felt that it was important for all of us to be at the table at the same time so that we
Yeah,
could all
had
hear.
a good discussion between Matt and the private beaches on either side of Soundview. I think that would solve some of
Probably.
the questions.
Well, he's invited to the meeting too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I think,
and he was invited to the planning one that we had as well. Okay, Jude, you asked for the duck hunting ordinance to come on again.
I wanted to mention, because I don't think it's in the minutes from last week or 2 weeks ago. I have been contacted by a number of property owners who have residences along the Black Hole River between Mile Creek Road Bridge, the railroad tracks, complaining about duck hunting, and they are worried about their safety, their pets or animals' safety, as well as the nesting area for the bald eagles. And so Eric Knapp was kind enough to meet with me. He contacted Deep, and I have contacted Devin Carney and Martha Marks, who have both, Martha Marks, a representative, back in touch with me. She's willing to work on this with Deep in conjunction with Devin Carney. And I have not contacted them right now because I know everybody had been busy with other things, but I will be following up. A number of the property owners are willing to write letters. They have photos, they have videos of what their complaints are. And the concern is the nesting area for the bald eagles will become unsafe or abandoned by the eagles. And they don't want that to happen. Right now, there is a no duck hunting ordinance from the railroad tracks, I believe, to the mouth of the Blackwall River. Jim Lamppost made a suggestion that I talk to Dick Shriver about this because he would be an asset in coming up with a plan. We cannot write ordinances, as Martha found out, regarding hunting in this area, and I found out the same. So I will keep you posted.
I will say though, Jude, I think in the paperwork that I sent you the first time, right after this came up, when it was duck hunting season, there is a clause in the one of the deep files that I sent you that says if a town needs to extend the no hunting ordinance, they can do so. And I believe there's just an email.
Our window.
I think that you can write to Deep and explain the situation, and they will come and evaluate it and talk to us about it. So I'm pretty sure I saw a clause that it can easily be done.
Great.
If you have, and we would probably need the property owners to give us some more examples.
And the of course, on first contact that was not made, but
I think
that's
it's in
why
the
we're going to keep
I'll-
working on it.
I'll try to look
I'll
to
go
see
back
what I
and-
sent you
I'll look
originally.
up what you sent me and check. From
There was something on a website
Extend.
that said that.
So extend the existing. Okay, thank you.
and if we could have a sense of, I know there's parts of the Connecticut River that duck hunting is allowed. So we had a sense of, why you're doing this research of where it's allowed currently.
The Deep's original response is the season is so short and the birds are not nesting. But since their regulations were put in place, times have changed, building along the river has changed a lot. So of course, I'll keep you posted on all of it.
Not to mention with the changes in the climate, the birds are coming back earlier and they may be building nests earlier. I mean, it's not like we asked for a building permit. So we're not sure when they're start, but you certainly see more activity earlier and earlier every year.
Yep. And longer the season.
The season's longer. The
Correct.
Eagles, some of the Eagles are staying all year now. They used to.
Well, that's a concern. I think it's not as if they're here year round. So what if, thank you.
No problem. All right, Grassy Hill Road Bridge update. We're continuing to work on our various easements and such. Fred Behringer had some questions from Board of Finance. So Fred and I are going to go with Anna Ryder, also from Board of Finance, to go over to Jacobson's so that Howard Fromer can answer Fred's questions. But Anna has a degree and has a background in engineering, so she's wants to attend as well. A lot of this is about the Merritt Parkway guardrail that they put into the plans. Please remember these plans were begun under Bonnie's term and then finished up under Tim's. So these plans were in place when I took office. The neighbors really don't want the shiny silver guardrails. They would prefer the Merritt Parkway. I think they're about 50. Fred said they were about 57,000 on the thing. Anna explained how the Merritt Parkway guardrails are built from the center of a tree, and that's why they're so strong and withstand. We've also taken some of it out, so the original costs are going to change anyways because we've made some adjustments to the guardrail. Dave Jewett had asked for some space to be given so that he could get his lawnmower from his property over to the Boston Post Road property, which he maintains. And he, DOT had no problem with that. We also shrunk down the return because we're going to need a turnaround for the fire department. And we also do a Lifestar landing in their field. So we've also taken in some out at the other end up at Grassy Hill. So there will be some length changes in that format. Again, these are estimates. They're very, they're what we would call guesstimate, but they're based on DOT pricing from 2024, and they ask you to give 5% more per year, which is what they did. But according to Jacobson's engineering, they said, we try to come in with our estimate somewhere in the middle. And then if the bids go out and if it's lower, we're like, great. If it's hot, if it's right at the middle, we're like, great, we're doing a great job. If it's higher, then we're off the mark. But again, we have to go out to bid to get the prices. And our plan is would go out to bid in January. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
There was a question of keeping the two entrances to Grassy Hill Road.
Right.
Yes, there was that as well.
It seems to me unlikely the DOT would agree to that. Has there been any discussion with them at all?
Well, I know that we probably don't think of it, but they call, and you're going to have to forgive me because everybody changes directions. But when you're traveling from East Lyme towards Grassy Hill, DOT returns to that right-hand turn as a New York turn. As you just keep going. You don't really slow down. At a 90-degree turn, you tend to slow down. You have to slow down.
There's a lot of the issues are, you have this road splitting and you have people kind of crossing over.
Exactly.
Which is, I don't know that we have that many accidents there, but still, I know DOT doesn't like that. And they also like to limit curb cuts on state roads. So, if they can have one curb cut instead of two on Route 1, DOT would prefer that. But I know aesthetically the neighbors like the current.
They like what they're used to too.
Change is hard.
Yeah.
Of course.
change is hard, but it is, and it's, I mean, we've spent a lot of time out there looking at it, analyzing it, but if you stand on that corner, it's scary when they come around that corner, either
Mhm.
way. Yep. They're moving, and that bridge narrows. So you've got a wide span going to a narrow span. And the plan for the bridge is that it does extend the width by I think about 6 feet. So that it gives us a little bit more room so that a bus and a snowplow could go over at the exact same time. All right. So moving on to Selectmen's general discussion. So one thing that came up today that I'd like to, I know that we've talked about, well, we've had some concerns before, but we heard it again today from a number of people in public comment, is the perhaps unprofessionalism of a chairman when they're speaking to either other peoples of their board, when they've spoken to, perhaps to us here in a presentation. And I'm just wondering how you think we might proceed with that, because I think we have discussed this before with them. And I understand it's a tough job being a chairperson, but we certainly have other chairs that are handling their boards with utmost respect. And so I just wondered if you had any thoughts.
I'm wondering if perhaps HR should speak to that person, even though they are not an employee. That would be a suggestion, and maybe part of her role, and maybe ethics.
Okay.
I don't think that that's a decision that we. If there's, if they feel that there is a problem.
Based on a letter we received, my impression was that Steve did apologize to Dennis, and I think the minutes reflect that.
Right.
That he did apologize. We received, a lot of us received a letter saying that, maybe there was some backsliding on that. But this is tough. It's like people, there are personalities that we have to take into account. Some people have, a rougher personality than others. And then there's the lines you cross where you're just completely disrespecting people on your committee. And I think we've all seen that line crossed. In my personal experience, there's some times where it's just like, whoa, seriously? But I kind of figure out, it's like, oh, that's just the way he is, and we have a good relationship, and I kind of know where that level is. So, and you find that people just have different ways. So, I guess I'm stumbling for words here because, on the one hand, people are really calling for some disciplinary action to be taken or his removal. And I understand that, and I think a lot of my people that I talk to are very adamant about his removal, just for general attitude that he's had. I'm more of a forgiving person, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't be, but
That's why my suggestion, having third party, I am not in favor of, I don't know that it's our responsibility to remove a chairperson.
well, we can.
It may be, and I know we can because we appoint people.
And
I have been treated not so nicely in public by many people in my life, especially when we put ourselves out there in front of other people. Do I enjoy it? No. It doesn't exclude people being rude. We've all experienced it, but I do not feel comfortable removing someone. I expected when Steve was at the meeting that he said, I offer or will offer. However he implied it, I expected that it took place. Now, we have some very personalities on that board who are diametrically opposed. And I'd like to think grownups could work out their differences.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think at that meeting we had with him, we raised it. And I think we made it clear that some of that behavior was unacceptable. I mean, I witnessed behavior, you know, I'd called into a meeting and witnessed that behavior, and I thought it was completely unacceptable from a chair to people on their committee, no matter what he thinks. I mean, you know, there's a lot of times people say stuff and, you know, we're like, okay. But
I haven't heard that, but I have been involved in meetings where people are constantly interrupting. I was not there for all of it, but I have been at WPCA meetings when the chairperson is interrupted. I've tried to speak at a public meeting by raising my hand and been denied. So where do we draw the line?
yeah, so I'm dismayed that there has been backsliding. I thought that we had an understanding at the end of that meeting of the necessity to respect people on your board. They're on your board. So if you're a chair, you have to respect them. I've certainly been on boards, you know, commissions where it's fundamental disagreement with the person who's the chair, but the chair treated me with the utmost respect, let me say my piece, and that's the way it should be done. So I'm dismayed that we have reports of backsliding, but I think, you know, before we take drastic action, let's have another talk, perhaps.
Well, that's what
I think too, that we've certainly seen, there've sometimes been a chair that has come to me with some concerns about a person. And I encourage them to have a conversation. And sometimes the conversation between the chair and a one-to-one with the person settles things. Or they come to a compromise and the person resigns because they just can't serve on that board anymore. And that's okay. Sometimes that's what has to happen. But I do think, Jude, I don't think it doesn't fall under our ethics code, because our ethics code is basically more financial. It's under financial duties. You'd have to look at our ethics code, but it's not so much on respect. As far as HR, I don't think that HR is exactly the right way to go because they're not an employee. I have had conversations with said person and tried to explain that perception is their reality. So if a person perceives this is the way they're being treated, that's their reality and that's the way they feel. And that you have to take that into expect. You may not see yourself coming across that way, but you have to understand how another person feels and what they see when it comes across. So we don't have to always become defensive. There are a number of things that were mentioned today in public comment, which I'm going to follow up with because I would like to know where some of this information is coming from, because there were some figures thrown out there that I do not believe are correct at all, such as the $800 per hour for an attorney, and I will check with that. But there's no indication of that. Our town attorneys charge $185 per hour for municipal work. And that is significantly lower than the $400 per hour that most of them are getting on their normal hourly rate. And then we do have a bonding attorney, and I do not think he is charging that as well. But I'll look at it. Actually, he works his fees into a bond, so it's a build up, and he and Steve have had some conversations about what it is. So I'll do some more research on that.
Since we've brought up our bond attorney, there was talk about rolling his fees into the loan. Specifically, which loan are we talking about?
Well, the loan would be the next round of clean water funds. So remember, all of this is coming from clean water funds. It's not coming from a bank or a bond that we go out, but it would go into that. as well. And I also think too, that one of the things that, and I have talked to Steve about this, that what comes after? What comes after this? How are we setting this up? We have 4 different private beach associations with WPCA's, but once they start flowing, that is not, that should not be 4 different billing agents. There should be one. They all come, they're all residents of our town.
That question's been raised ever since there's been discussion about the sewer project. It's not just Steve's answer to come up with.
No.
This has gone on
Well,
for the past
hopefully it's
8-10 years.
it's addressed in the CSA, and I encourage Steve to, instead of leaving it open
Of
in 2
course.
years for our successors to figure out.
No, I agree, but I'm
This is
saying that
where we
this
should be
is an ongoing
focused.
question.
Yeah.
Right, and the Connecticut general statutes have specific rules for WPCA's where
Right.
we, as the Board of Selectmen, are hands off with them. They have their own set of rules that they have to comply by. But I do feel that it should be one unit for those 907 homes in the area. I think it might be less if you've not been knocked down since the last time around, but it shouldn't be 4 different billings. And Connecticut Water does offer to do the billing because it's usually attached to your meter with your meters as well.
And I would, just as a policy issue, a lot of people, say, well, the town fees should be paid for by Soundview, since Soundview is picking up all of the town expenses. And I think the town attorney or the bond attorney represents the entire town. Now they tell us, oh, WPCA represents you. They don't, they're your representation. Well, if they're our representation, why are we the only ones paying these fees? If it's a town expense, then everyone should be sharing in that town expense. If it's the specific infrastructure in Soundview, clearly that's on us. And we have the 30% share of the shared infrastructure. I get that. I'm not challenging that right now. But if there is a general town expense like the bond attorney, that's not something that should be exclusively paid for by Soundview. I mean, that's a town expense. And the other PBAs are part of the town as well. So, I don't think we should be picking up the public streets of Soundview should be picking up every single expense that the town has. I don't think it's their responsibility. Because that could be huge.
I don't disagree.
I will tell you, it wasn't budgeted for in 25, 26. So we might have to go for an appropriation.
Are we still on?
We're on Selectmen's general discussion. Do you have?
So if we were talking about legal expenses, I would like to make the request. And I know everybody was on vacation in June, but the same request keeps coming over and over. How much money was spent on Halls Road Improvement Committee? How much was spent on
Are you
legal?
talking from the beginning of its conception in
Yes, the best
2018?
that can be added.
So just so you know, but I just want you to know, financial records go back 3 years. And that's what Anita is obliged by state to save. So we can go back through that. And then the rest is everything that we have to go back through Board of Finance records and anything that we can find.
Okay, it's just ever since this committee was started, this question's been going on. This isn't new, but I'm still hearing it, and we had discussed it at the last meeting.
I do want you to know that it takes a great deal of time and energy from Miss.
Well, I think Jim mentioned at our last meeting, before we move forward, we should know what we spent.
And I think that we should put a presentation on for the public to say, this is what has happened. This is where it came from. This is what you paid for.
Right, whether it's surveys or studies or whatever. And the next thing was, the request keeps being made for how much has been spent on legal expenses for Attorney Sweeney. How much have we spent on attorney fees for Tanamahaig Landing and for FOIA investigation? And so if that could be provided, those are pretty current.
Yeah, Sweeney, easy.
Yep.
Tanamahaig goes back through Tim, but
I know, but even in the last few years.
I'm just talking. I'm just saying what I'm going back in years on. And so we can pull that I'm just thinking about how many files are in the basement and what years we have to pull up. But it takes time and personnel. So you're not going to get all 4 in 2 weeks because Sweeney you might get right away because that's pretty easy because it's a one-time.
Sweeney, Chanamallet, Hague, Falls Road, and Foya.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have nothing further.
Okay.
I will go over.
Anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
All right. So I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, we are adjourning at 7:37.